earlier. We have with us a man who has been away for some time in terms of from the radio. It's been quite a while, but he's here. Simeon Freeman, political leader of the movement for progressive change. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, and good afternoon to folks in Radio Land. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, how is life? How have you been? You always look youngish.
I'm learning from you.
How?
I don't stress, take good care of myself, pray often, and that's it.
Yeah, and eat well too.
Eat very healthy.
Yeah, do you exercise as well?
Yeah, I exercise from time to time. It's always a good part of the preserving your health journey.
Okay, good. I think I should just start with the whole drug thing. Yeah. So
Right.
since that's what the previous guests were talking about, because
Right.
we have a whole lot
To talk about.
But
Right.
this the drugs. Have you been concerned about the growing wave of drug addiction, the influx into the country, and everything else connected with it?
Yes, we are very concerned, and I'm sure every well-meaning Liberian is. But being concerned is one thing. The approaches to trying to solve it is another thing. Too often, when there is a problem, we adopt approaches that don't solve it. While the march tomorrow is welcome, supporter, but it's just going to be one march, and that's going to be it. Let's hope when the march is done, it's going to compel the leaders of our country to sit down and say, how can we solve it? And I think the way to solve it, firstly, would be to learn from other countries how they've solved it. You can't take away the right of anybody accused of drugs to be represented or to endure legal or to endure the court process. But what you can do is to maybe modify the law so that that trial takes place within a very short window. So if you say anybody charged with drug issue, the matter should be fully adjudicated within 2 months, then you set a window, right? The other thing is, let's face it, just as of 2024, when you look at the population of Monrovia, 2023, the population of Monrovia was about 1.6 million. Today, the population of Monrovia have grown by about a little over 100,000. We are about 1.7 something million people in Monrovia alone. And imagine our population of Liberia is about 5 point something. What that means is the rate of urban migration. So people are coming to Monrovia. Why are they coming? In rural, there is nothing happening. In urban, there is nothing happening. What we need to do, we must create jobs for our people. And that's the conversation we need to have. We need to embrace strong industrialization approaches. If you look at one thing, Mr. Jed, you will notice that we have this mushrooming of universities across Monrovia and other parts. But why don't we have mushrooming of vocational schools, of technical education? Because that is where we will need the workforce for an industrialized Liberia. And I think if we were to do those quickly, the issue of drugs will be quickly isolated. While we're talking about it, the guys that will pick an opportunity, entrepreneurs that are unscrupulous, that will pick an opportunity to sell drugs quickly because there is demand, there is market, are going to exploit that. So I think the sooner we took real concrete steps, the sooner we'll solve the problem. Other than that, we're still going to be talking about drugs 10 years from today. The other aspect is the institutions funding drugs. The institutions fighting drugs. What is the DEA? How much do we give them? Even the police. If you look at the police budget, most of the money in the police goes to salaries. Not much is there for any other fund. So how do you expect the CRD and all these other divisions to actually work, the intelligence to work towards drugs? So you actually have
We
a lot
have
of
a very
porosity.
small purse, and you know, we have
No,
a
we
small
don't have
national
a
purse.
no. We don't have a very small national purse. If you look at the allotment to the office of the vice president is bigger than the DEA. If you took the total quantity of money paid for the legislature, senators and representatives, if we were to just trimmed out a little bit, we'll have sufficient money to be able to fund these institutions. So I think clearly we need to transition from talking to acting, and I think if we act, it will be good. Do we need a huge purse to create job? No, I don't think so. I think we need a small purse to actually create the jobs that we need to create. If we don't create it, we'll still be talking and talking and talking. You have more young people that will become Zogos, that will be frustrated. There are a lot more people consuming drugs that are not Zogos anyway. They're not on the street, full blown, but they are consumed by it and they are affected by it until we actually deal with the
issues of importation of the drugs as well, because a whole lot of it comes from
you see, the issue of importation, when people talk about that, I think they don't know the country Liberia. Liberia has a border with Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Cote d'Ivoire. Talking about more than 1,000 kilometers of porous borders. You can go right into Cape Man. There are many routes you can use to enter Sierra Leone. Same as Guinea, same as Cote d'Ivoire. Look, from Buto, you just get in the Kino. There are people living in Cote d'Ivoire farming, in Grand Gita. There are people living in Grand Gita farming in Cote d'Ivoire, and vice versa. So you have inter-tribes. You have the same way you have Guy amount of people on our side, you have Guy amount of people on the other side, and they are families and relatives. So it's easy. And the same thing with Ghana, the same thing with Nigeria. The way to fight those things is to be able to create some opportunities for your people on your side of the border, and then it's like you're creating a disincentive. But if you say you're going to man the border, which is one step which we must not ignore, but manning the border will not in itself and by itself, because like you said, we don't have the resources to actually man all of that border. It means we have to have people in every town. The last time I went to Buto was several years ago. There was one policeman I saw. I don't know how many they have today, right? So one policeman manning an entire border town, it's not going to add to anything. And we don't have the resources. The last time I checked, I think we have about 5,000 people in the police force. I don't know what they are today. Maybe that number has dropped significantly. Same for the army. We had a lot more. Now it's dropped. So the reality is we need to be able to create alternatives. Let somebody say, I have a job, and because I have a job, consuming drugs is not an attraction. People do these things actually out of frustration. There are counter arguments to that. There are people who have opportunities, but again, sometimes they are persuaded by certain levels of peer pressure. There are people who come from good homes and still consume these things. So, but we still need to create that alternative, so that if they have to make a decision, then there is an alternative.
Let's talk about the economy, the Liberian economy. We look at the numbers. It seems as though from last year to this year, it is performing well in terms of what if you were to go back to the Corona years. After the Corona years, it seems to have been some better performances, going upwards of 4%, and all of that. But there has always been the issue of bread and butter, the trickle-down effects of the economy. What can you say about the overall economy before we look at specific aspects of it?
Yeah, so you see, overall, when you talk about the time of Corona, Liberia was basically doing nothing, right? There was absolutely nothing really happening. People were not encouraged to interact, so businesses had to slim down and what have you. Gone are the days of Corona. So as a result of that, and other sectors of the economy were not as open as they are today. So today you talk about mining, you talk about agricultural sector that are driving the economy. So obviously you expect those kinds of outcomes. Our growth has been around 4-5% and what have you, which is good. But on the overall, and we've always had this problem. Several years ago, long before today, you had economists that wrote about Liberia talking about growth without development. So in every respect, yes, we had growth, but that growth was never really trickled down, like you said. And the reason why it's not trickled down is not because it cannot be, but it's because whenever we make money, we consume almost all of it on the bureaucratic infrastructure and leave the the real beneficiaries of revenue, we leave them out. If you look at what
Who are they?
The real beneficiaries are the people. The people who consume the money are those who are in government. So that's why you see everybody want to enter government to be part of it. The quantity of money we spend on the government itself, running the government, just doesn't add up to me. Every time I look at the number, whether I look at it from an accounting perspective or look at it from an economic perspective, it just doesn't add up to me. All of these different institutions we have, the different sizes we have, the different individuals in government just don't add up to me. And so when you look at the government entire operating costs, it takes up almost all that is generated. So when you look at the envelope, when you look at recurring costs, you look at in terms of recurring costs, you look at payroll of government.
But governments
let's take payroll. Let's take payroll. Payroll, the last I checked, was about 60-something% of the national budget. That's just payroll alone, which means you're paying probably about $20-something million a month just for your payroll. Then you're talking about your recurring costs, all of the other associated operations that is associated with the entire inflow. Most of that money truly could be saved. You wanted to say something, sir?
Yeah, talking about the recurrent costs. Different governments have come and tried to retrench that, to cut it down, and there's just not much you can do about it.
Methodology.
That is some of the arguments that we hear.
Methodology is key. Methodology is key, and that's the mistake that's being made. Methodology is key. You know, sometimes we need to sit down and ask ourselves some very hard questions. A couple of years ago, I'll give you one example. A couple of years ago, something called National Disaster Management was established. Then another one, I think National Food something.
Food assistance.
Food assistance.
Food assistance
Right.
agency.
So you had that. Then a couple of years ago, there became a need for LBS, which was the only radio station in Liberia those days. And then there was a need for a Ministry of Information, which of course at the time was needed in terms of information dissemination. Today, anybody can open your Facebook page and disseminate information, and government officials are doing that quite a lot. I heard my very good friend and brother John Colley was complaining that government officials are now taking up that space, right? So let's be realistic. With the advent of technology, where you can sit down in your living room, in your bedroom, some of the biggest media followers today are not necessarily institutions. It's just 2-3 people. The guy has a camera, he has a small studio, his studio is mobile, and he's broadcasting to millions of people, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Instagram. The question is, do we still need to be funding those kinds of institutions? Let's face it. Let's take water and sewer. We give you millions of dollars, government resources to water and sewer. Do we still need to have a government owning a water corporation where it can be privately run, and it can be privately run so that it makes profit and the water will still be cheaper? Several years ago, I remember the last money on the late former Samuel Doe that was taken was about $18 million for the former Liberia Telecommunications Corporation. When this guy was the late, I think he's late or he's the last, Queer. We took $18 million borrow just to try to resource it to LTC. LTC never really worked. We pumped millions of dollars into LTC and never really worked. Today, some of the biggest income earner, Lone Star, Orange, are privately driven, mobile. Cost of data and airtime are all available cheap. You have your mobile phone. Can we operate water in a better way so that it is not the way it is in many countries, places like Nigeria? Yeah, you have Nepal and what have you, but they've opened the market so much so that private actors are operating. We are still subsidizing LEC, and so as a result, that 10 million or 20 million you give to LEC annually because somebody at a capital or mansion or this other government official not paying electricity, all of those money add up. And I'm saying you can actually string the government, and that has been an argument. Look, that's where that's what you call social economics. If you were to if you were to shut down some of these institutions, the guys working there, you're not going to fire them. You put them on a 12 to 24 months payroll. It means even though there is no associated costs in terms of cost of rent, cost of operations, you save that and move it now to try to help the people, because now you can invest it in the private sector. Now these guys that are on the payroll, you move them, you transition in them, you're not collecting that money for free. If you are one of the people, we will now get you and start to train you over the next 12 to 24 months, and we try to transition you. Once you are transitioned into the private sector, you get off that payroll. So if the program is aggressively implemented over a 12 months period, you could get up to 60% of the people on our free payroll up to a job, because now you redeploy. If we don't redeploy resources, we're not going to go anywhere. Liberia is not the first country. Many other countries have done that and they've seen a change. But every government that comes to power, their excuse is, oh, nothing can be done. And so we still carry the liabilities. And so you go to one ministry, there's assistant minister for administration, there's deputy minister for administration, there's director for administration. You have all these things, and it's not really helping us until we actually sit down. If we mean well for our country, then we change that around. Until then, we might be having this discussion by 2050. And other countries, other neighboring countries will be making significant strides, and we're still going to be having this discussion.
Talking about the participation of Liberians in the economy then and now, you want to talk about that?
Fair enough. You know, today when I've been listening quite a lot to this whole license plate issue. And you know, it amazes me. Everybody that wants to be president of Liberia say, we're going to have Liberian participation. We're going to make Liberians participate in the economy. When they get there, then Liberians don't participate. And I don't know whether we've forgotten our history. One of the biggest shipping companies just before the coup was Denko Shipping Line. You know, and I sent you some records so you could see that. Mm-hmm. Even the government of Liberia itself had a 50% equity in the Liberia shipping company. I sent you that so you could see the government of Liberia. And as part of that condition, if I send you the Firestone contract, that shipping company was obligated to ship Firestone rubber up to 100% up to their capacity.
It was a Liberian company.
It was. The government of Liberia had equity in that shipping company.
Okay.
So, like I sent you the document so you could see it for evidence. So the government of Liberia had equity in that. People forget that. Some of the biggest rice importer in Liberia prior to 1980 was not a Lebanese. They were all Liberians, biggest. So you talk about Mesorado Group. I just wanted to put them on the bench because everybody talk about them. But logging companies, I send you that. Look at the number of Liberians that were actors in the logging industry. You saw that 100%. There's a whole list of them. What were they doing then that we're not doing now? I think those that are in government should understand the more Liberians you have participate in the economy, the less number of people you will have wanting to be politicians. The less number of people you have wanting to be.
Can you say that again?
The more Liberians you have participating in the economy, the less number of people you have wanting to be representatives, senator. Let's face it. If you look at the number of people that wanted to be senator in the 80s, from the 1980 to 1990, right? If you look, there has been a steady rise in the 2000s. One representative post is open up and 20 people want to be representative. One senatorial post, 30 people want to be senator. Why? Because that's where you have the money. $8,000 for $8,000, I'm told, for a representative that's still to be corrected.
Others would argue, a government could argue, but we're not stopping anybody from being involved. Simeon Freeman, for example, is a big player in the economy, but he wants to be president.
You see, that is precisely the wrong idea. Every country in the world, I'm sure you follow what's happening around the world. Every nation that has to discuss tariffs say we're trying to protect our domestic economy. I'm sure you heard the Prime Minister of India saying, Indians, I'm driving this, buy local. You see what is the Russian economy, you see the Chinese economy. Every leader around the world is taking steps to ensure that the locals are participating. In our case, the government believes that, but go ahead and participate. So the first challenge we have, you cannot easily participate, access to funding. That's the first challenge most of these people have, access to funding. I've met people in this country with very brilliant ideas, great things. They don't have the resources. If they went to the bank, because of the high rate of defaulting loan, the banks are a lot more cautious. They've developed tighter lending conditions. What that also does is it disables people that may be well-intentioned, even though people that came ahead of them may have made it difficult for them. So having said that, it is the government that has to facilitate that. And in order to facilitate that, for example, let me tell you what other countries do. I remember during the Obama era, when they had this 2008 crisis, they came out with something called quantitative easing. It's a big economic word, but it's simple. OKFM sells airtime. So we come to OKFM and say, OKFM, you know what? How much do you make from airtime? OKFM say, I make $500 per week. They say, okay, FM, we want you to prosper. We don't want you to be strangulated. We're going to buy $5,000 per week airtime from you. So that means we're going to have various government institutions advertising the services. So now OKFN gets $5,000, not for free, but from selling your services. And so OKFN is sustained. That was the whole concept of quantitative easing. In the case of our government, what can happen? And I think if the government is well-meaning, it will listen to some of these positive suggestions. The government can find $50 to $100 million through the central bank, give it to the commercial bank with clear lending conditions. Under Mills Jones, similar thing was started with the housing infrastructure, where through the central bank, he gave money to the commercial banks with onward lending. And I think those loans were up to 5 years or 6 years. I stand to be correct on what the details were. If you are a small entrepreneur and you went to the bank and the bank gave you loan, and the bank say pay 18%, pay over 6 months, 1 year period, you don't have the turnaround period. The probability for you to fail is slim. Let's even assume you wanted to import. The time is going to take you, by the time you place an order from China, it's going to take you probably 2-3 weeks for the guy to produce it. It's going to take you another 6 weeks for it to get here. You're talking about 2-3 months gone already. Call it 90 days to 120 days gone. But then the following month, you have to start paying your interest and principal, which makes it difficult for you to survive. So that's where government come in. Government come and say, look, GT Bank, LBDR, UBA, EcoBank, we're going to give you 10 million each or 20 million each, and this money, these are the sectors you're going to loan it to. And when you do loan it, the guy has a moratorium of 6 months, and this is the interest rate. It changes the game completely. If the government doesn't intervene, trust me, you're not going to spoil that group. No country on the face of the planet has grown without government intervention. Show me one, I stand to be corrected.
Now, I just want to go back over this. That I've seen out of 18 logging companies back then,
right?
And I'm seeing here like what, 1970 something,
right?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Come here, let me see.
Predominantly Liberian.
Yeah, they were mostly 1, 2, 3, 4.
There was one
5,
Senegalese.
6, 7, yeah.
There was one Senegalese owned. There was one. Let me see.
I think 2 or 3
there
3 or 4
Lebanese.
Lebanese.
There was one Lebanese owned, and that was small size, 18,000 hectares.
1, 2.
So all of the big, and another Lebanese, 140,000 hectares. All of the other ones were all Liberian owned. Liberians dominated their economy. Why don't we have that? Look at what was happening.
And so what has changed?
The government was not just giving her land away. Liberians were going forward, and Liberians were the loggers. That's the same thing happening in Nigeria today. Today, I hear people celebrating Dangote. This guy was, when he said May in Obasanjo. Obasanjo called this guy and said, look, we are spending a lot of money on cement importation. What can we do about cement? Dangote was only a cement importer. He was buying the cement from Dubai, from Turkey, like everybody else. And he said, Mr. President, if we have the right government support, we can build the largest cement factory here. President said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Mr. President, that's possible." President said, "Get to work. We give you all of the protection." They gave him the protection. They got to work. They created the funding, and he built it. Today, the same man, based on the fact that he has excelled, has built the largest oil refinery. Today, he's talking about building a port. Because, of course, when you're talking about oil export, you can't deal with the Apapa port or all of the headache. So you want to have a clear way where you're moving strictly oil, which will work for other people. Just one. And not just that. Just about, 10 years ago, Nigeria was like Liberia. $20 billion rice import. That was their bill. Our bill is about $300 million per annum. Their bill about $20 billion per annum. Today, Nigeria is almost self-sufficient in rice production. They pump subsidy and money into the economy and created the environment.
But let me read out some of the companies for
Right.
for those listening. Some may be able to remember. Lofa Logging Corporation.
Other people who-
owned by George Patmore, Liberian. Wanta Enterprises Incorporated. Martin Wild Kroma. Kekura Kpoto. Both of them were the owners.
You know the late Kakurak Boto, he was chairman of. So the chairman, he was chairman of NDPL during Dotan. He was also chairman of MPP during Charles Taylor. That's the Kakurak Boto being referenced.
Liberian. National Logging Company, Gabriel Doe.
Right.
Liberian. Tropical.
Omer Doe is still around here.
Okay.
Yeah, he's still around. I think he lives in Cote d'Ivoire now.
Tropical Farm Corporation, William E. Ward, Liberian. Bourgeois Logging Corporation, M. Dukle, Victoria E. Dukle, Liberian. Zika Industrial Corporation Incorporated, and all of them, the years they came into being are there, 1970, 1973,
You should read it so people don't think we're making up these numbers. People don't understand these things.
Bourgeois Logging Corporation, 1973, M. Dukle, Victoria E. Dukle, Liberian. Zika Industrial Corporation Incorporated, 1974. Peter G. Dollier, Liberian. Bondi Timber Corporation, 1974. Robert G. W. Azango, Liberian. Bele Fair Logging, that one is Lebanese, let's leave them out. Triple Enterprises, 1973. Afrosire, Liberian. Brazilian Afro Logging Company, 1973, Liberian. Tropical Trading Corporation, LMC. Matro Logging, Liberian, 1974. Yakua Enterprises, 1975, Liberian. Gatumba Logging Corporation, 1975, Liberian. And Simpoa River Logging Corporation, Liberian. Even though now that industry, because of climate change and other things, but
we still doing logging.
Yeah, but it's said that politics is also playing its part in Liberians not really.
Well, the approach those days was that, and which is the approach in places like Nigeria today. The Nigerians eat their own money. So let's take the power sector. The power sector, most of the players in the power sector in Nigeria are indigenous Nigerians. Let's take the mobile sector. Globalcom, which is owned by a Nigerian, one of the biggest mobile phone company. In Liberia, if you just took the main street sinker, almost 80%, 85% of all of the buildings, tall buildings, are foreign owned. And unfortunately, less than 5,000 Lebanese in the whole country. This is serious. And every time, and that's the reason why I even referenced the whole,
because even
the license plate thing.
Something like right. No, we are going to come there to get your view.
Right.
Something like rice importation.
Simple.
You
don't need any school for that. So if somebody argue and say it's an issue of money, the government of Liberia, through the Central Bank of Liberia, can provide a short-term line of credit where an LC can be opened from a producer. India is the biggest exporter of rice globally. We can do that, and we can have a few Liberians, and then we can transition, because the goal cannot be just to import rice. We transition to a local rice infrastructure. Why can we start that? What makes it so difficult? But every time people give excuses. But then when you look at the quantity of money spent on running the government itself, you are like, but this money can be spent to do this. So what is troubling us is not that we don't have the money, but the whole concept of mismanagement. That's what's troubling us. And I think the sooner we tackle that, the better. Because you see, we will not have long-term peace, we will not have long-term stability if we don't provide alternatives for our people long-term. You can have a situation where Liberia is the only country on the entire African continent where more than 30% of its people live in the city. I think 5.2 or 5.6 million people, 1.7 million living in the city. It's crazy. And it keeps rising year by year. And if we do nothing about it, over time, this thing is going to affect the long-term stability of the country. That's why we need to sit down. Instead of the only thing our political leaders try to do, use connection to appoint this other person as assistant minister, a deputy minister, and that's the thing. Let's move away from that and try to create real structures long-term. Look, I've been one of the proponents. I'll tell you one thing. Today, if you speak to this government, the biggest thing is, let's build road to this place, and I'm arguing against that.
No,
today
we will come to that. Let's just finish. Let's move on to the LTM, the license plates and stuff.
Tell me, look, Mr. Clarence Jackson and Julius J, they don't need any school in license plate and driver's license printing. All you need are the machines. All you need are the people that know how to operate those machines, the technical expertise. If the government of Liberia said, look, we're going to take 3 Liberians that supported the Unity Party, and we're going to give them this driver's license arrangement, they will be printing driver's license. We take another 3 persons that are Liberians that support the Unity Party. Instead of giving you minister, deputy minister job, we're going to give you, create a company, we're going to provide the funding. That 40 million thing I heard, I wanted to slap, when I was reading the paper, I just want to slap the paper. 40 million from where? You don't need 40 million for anything. The machine to print that doesn't even cost $2 million. So sometimes people just push these things forward. So the truth is, whoever else could have been created, and what's going to happen with our wealth? If Mr. Julius J, Mr. Clarence Jackson can make $1 million per annum from printing driver's license or license plate, most of that money is going to end up right here. So here's what the government also do to trap that wealth. In Ghana, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, they've created a stock exchange. We can create a stock market. The last time I looked at the central bank report, I saw that we did more than $2 billion US dollar via mobile money. Yeah, read the central bank report. More than $2 billion US dollar via mobile money. There's a lot of excess capacity. So you notice mobile money now is saying, keep money on your Momo wallet. They're trying to track, because they want to be now a bank, like a mobile storage for your money. Here's the thing. If the government were to establish a market, let's say Mr. Julius J makes, say, $1,000 a month and his expense per month is $500. He can say, okay, you know what? This other company is performing well. I'm going to put my extra $500 by buying shares. You buy shares. That $500 that you're pumping into that company is the money the company is now going to use to build additional factories. So when you hear Elon Musk is going to build this other factory, or he's building this other, it's not his money. It is money taken from the stock market that he's investing. Just a couple of days ago, I read the Dangote Industries pay her investors $360 million US dollar return on investment. Money taken from the stock market, invested back. Those are some of the things hurting us. Can we sit down and have a conversation around that? I think we can. If we're sincere about moving our country forward. If we're not sincere about moving our country forward, we will be looking as though these things are difficult. What does it take to set up a stock market? Even a switch. You issue a check from bank A to bank B, it's taking 3 days. With the right switch, which the central bank can which doesn't take long, with a data center, you can set up a tier 2 data center right here in Liberia. It's going to change things around. Why these things appear so difficult to do when it's happening all around us?
It has always been, from previous government to now, about the interoperability of the banks they switch.
You just need a simple switch. A simple switch.
They said they were supposed to. I think it's supposed to be established. I don't know if that has been done now. And we keep,
some of the things about us are so lazy because we can do that. It's not difficult. Some of the guys here went to some of the finest schools. They are bright. But when it comes to acting, then we get lazy. And I think from this kind of conversation, people will listen. Because you see, this conversation doesn't come to say, oh, the government is ugly, the government is... It comes to say, these things are possible and we can do it. And I'm hoping when people like us become president, we can change that if that doesn't happen. But however, be that as it may, I really want this Boeka government to succeed. Not because of Boeka, but because it's going to help the people of Liberia.
I really want this Boeka government to succeed, not because of Boeka, but because it will help the people of Liberia. Now, still on that deal, the existing model was like a public-private partnership with the Liberian government and a Liberian company, where they were doing the printing, all that stuff, but housed within the Ministry of Transport, transport employees doing all of that. And now, the current deal that is being fought over is to be given to a Lebanese company to run outside of transport and all of that. And others have looked at the numbers and said that the government will be losing a whole lot of money, perhaps more than 60 to 70% of what they were getting from the current deal.
And the truth is, I haven't sat down to really look at those numbers, but I've heard that from the employees side, they've said government will be losing X amount of money. I suspect that government has her tax experts, like at the LRA and at the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Transport, to look at those numbers. But I'm more concerned about the beneficiary of the deal. Can it not be a Liberian? Which university they have in the world that you go to learn to print license plate? I mean, let's face it. These are the way we hurt our own people, knowingly or unknowingly. We hurt our own people because the truth is, that's why I gave you the list. I could give you a lot more so you can see Liberian participation prior to 1980. There was strong Liberian participation in the economy. Well, Ome, I know him, Ome Kettle. That Ome was the biggest rice importer, one of the biggest to this country. A Liberian. In our case today, you just drive down the street, it's all Lebanese. Which university you go to learn to import rice? All you need is a letter of credit and a warehouse. We make these things difficult, and so these people dominate our economy, and we permit that. And government officials accept that. The same way the Laudi man give father, Liberian man give father. So what's the issue?
What do you make of?
And then we celebrate Nigerian billionaire, Nigerian millionaire. We don't understand. Those guys plow money around. Let's take the banking sector here. We have only one surviving Liberian bank.
Yeah, LBDA.
GT Bank, Nigerian. UBA, Nigerian. Echo Bank, West African, but heavily dominated by Nigerian shareholders. And some South African. The other net bank is offloading about 21% of Echo Bank share that they had, but again, predominantly Nigerian. Bloom Bank, Nigerian. All these banks, Nigerian. Why don't we have one or two Liberian banks that could be supported? I know the argument here, we had Liberian bank that broke down. At that time, the banking environment was really tight. Since it became a lot more competitive, can we work so that the government of Liberia set up a fund and say, look, we're going to set aside 20 million this year, and we're going to work with a consortium of capable Liberians that can set up a bank, and they will pay the government of Liberia back over the next 10 years. If we don't do that and we believe that money will come from heaven to help us, then we are not ready. And I'll tell you something. I want to give an example before you are coming. You know, when Madam Selly was trying to fund the road from Monrovia to Ganta, I was one of the proponents. That road was estimated at 265 million. I was one of the proponents that was saying, look, let's face it. That road, the road from Monrovia to Ganta, was bad. Could we have made interventions using about 20 million or less? Yes. Imagine, from Madam Selly's time, if the government of Liberia had pumped 240 million in the private sector. Do you know how many industries we would have had today? Do you know how many residual income we would have had? Do you know how many multiplier effect in terms of jobs we would have had today? We're still running the same trend. The model running government in Liberia, after 6 months, the government goes and build one townhouse. Everybody go there as a fanfare. We're dedicating the townhouse. Or we go to one water depot. We fix it. The whole country you collect, if you take over a 6 years period, you collect probably $600 million per year times 6 years. All you have to show are these small things. Oh, the government did this. The core things that we're supposed to be redirecting. Let's take education. The trend here is that before I'm employable, I must have a college degree. But in the end, if you want to set up a water factory, if you need your chief operating officer at the water factory, or you need the guys to operate your machine or sovereign factory, you don't need a man in degree. You don't need a man with political science degree. You don't need a man with a degree in economics. You don't need a man with degree in sociology. And these are the things we keep replicating. We took it from Monrovia, then we went to Bon County, then we went to Nima. Then all of the people from Nima and Bon and Bassa say, oh, put a university here. But what we should have asked for should have been a technical college that gives technical capacitation or some trade school, so that we develop more architects. All of these buildings you see being built here, when people want very farm buildings, guess where they go? They go to Nigeria, go to Ghana, go to Senegal, go to Cote d'Ivoire, bring in the people. Talk to all the builders. These are challenges we face. You want the best of building, you go, you bring the people in. Because they say, oh, these guys will spoil it. They know how to build it a certain way. But how did those people learn it? They were giving opportunities. And the opportunity were created through the structure, the different trade schools. I'll tell you something. We have an operations in Ghana in a place called Adokope. We're trying to turn it into an ecotourism. So I told my operations guy, I said, I want you to go to the university, the Legon University. We want to partner with them so we can set up a complete aquaculture infrastructure where we'll grow grouper, we'll grow tilapia, we'll grow cassava fish, we'll grow shrimp. So it's a multi-layer infrastructure where we'll also bring in some cows from South Africa or Holland and what have you. Those cows are special because they produce milk at a different way. Guess what? When he went there, I told him, I said they have the sector. So he went there. Yes, the university is willing to partner, because they partner with another guy who told me that they are partner when he has one of the biggest shrimp production facilities in Accra. You know, sometimes in our country, people believe that, oh, it will just happen, or the investor will come with the money and get that job done. The government of Liberia, the same way they make it their business to fund the national legislature, to fund the Ministry of State, they have to make it their business to fund the private sector. That's the only way it's going to grow. If you believe that a private sector will grow void of government money, then that's why we haven't gotten that yet. And we need to learn from China. If you think all of this thing you hear Europe is talking about dumping, excess capacity, think about it. Several years ago, the only car you and I were using was what? Peugeot, Renault, and all these cars, right? In Africa, we never talk about dumping. Today, the Chinese are producing state-of-the-art cars, not just in electric, but even in hybrid vehicles where it has an engine, what have you. Europe is now complaining about dumping. Why? Because the BMW with one set of futures where the Chinese car coming even with better futures. The Chinese car will be sold for 30,000, where BMW will be going for 60. You go to South Africa now, Chinese cars are taking over the road. The Chinese didn't just get that, the Chinese subsidized that industry. The Liberian government believes that, we will be rice producers and we'll become toothpick producers and will produce toilet tissue because it should be a private sector initiative. They don't believe that every year they're supposed to set aside $50 million for the private sector. And because they don't believe that, the Chinese are developing capacity year after year. Today, the Chinese have another project. They invest in billions and billions that we don't have billions, we have millions. Our economy is smaller. Our size of population is smaller. If we invest every year, the same way we fund an LBS or Ministry of Information, if we fund the private sector, we will get the outcome that we want. It's not going to happen. And that even takes me to this whole $17 million. I listen to the thing and I'm like, God, what's wrong with us?
Which one? It said
the African Development Bank money.
The Youth Entrepreneurship
Right.
Bank.
Good idea, bad approach. Do you know how much it costs to run a bank per month? So take it out of that 17 million, you have to set up a bank. You need an entire infrastructure, right? So you're probably going to take $2 million just to set up the entire infrastructure. It depends. If you want to have 3 hubs, let's say you want to have one in Bond County for that hub, and you want to have one in Basso for that other hub, and you want to have one in Grand Jide for another hub, that's going to be 4 branches. Then the head office, that's going to be 4 branches. Rather, when you're talking about $2 million just to set it up. Then you're talking monthly recurring costs. You're talking not less than $750,000 to run the entire infrastructure. How much money are you going to have for the youth? Why don't you take that money? You already have existing banks. The banks already have a database of who their depositors are. Take that 17 million and say, LBDR, we give you 5 million, we'll give you $10 million. This money is for this process. These are the people you're targeting. You're targeting Yana boys, you're targeting people with bring ideas.
Send the youth to go there.
So they apply. So LBDR already have an existing infrastructure. UBA or GT already have an existing infrastructure.
And the cost for managing that money will be lower than if you have put it in a bank by itself.
You took it from my mouth. But now we're celebrating. So you will see we're going to spend almost 80% of that money just on operating the bank. After that, it's going to die because continuous inflow wouldn't be coming, and then you have 1 or 2 persons and we say, sometimes when I listen, I'm like, what's wrong with us? Let's sit down and have a conversation. You can come from one party, I can come from another party. I sit on other boards as a Liberian. I advise other governments. It's just that I'm not permitted to say that. And I see them moving forward. And we hear people, we can have conversations with our people just to give them guidance in it. And I just want them to win, because when they win, Liberia wins. Because, when I go places, they don't look at my passport and see MPC on it. They don't look at your passport and see another party. They don't look at tribe. They see Liberian. And on the immigration guys, the useless people. That's what goes at the back of his head. But if my country is like Singapore, my passport will be treated with respect. So in many respects, there are lots of possibilities that we could be exploiting that we are not exploiting. But we're waiting. We say the investor will bring it in. And so we sit down, we take again simple thing like driver's license and license plate and give it to a Lebanese man. And we say, the Lebanese people dominating the economy.
Let's come. I take a bit of water. This is the OK Conversation on OKFM 99.5. We have with us Simeon Freeman. He's the political leader of the Movement for Progressive Change. We're having a very high-level conversation, and those that should listen, I'm really hoping that they are listening. Now, on the issue of road development, building of roads and all of that, you said you have another approach to it.
Look, I'll tell you what. If I were president, or if I had an opportunity to adequately advise President Boyka, it's a simple accounting I would do. You see, look, several years ago, and I won't say it, the Liberian officials went to China. They wanted to benefit from the Belt and Road Initiative. I'm sure you may have heard through the corridors. And the guys in China told them something that made me laugh. You know what the guy said? We want to invest in bankable projects. And I told the other guy, you know what I mean by bankable projects? I told him, I said, you see, China is building 10,000 kilometers of road every year. But you know what China is doing? China went to Grand Jita. China invested in 200 factories in Grand Jita. China went to Tapeta. China invested in 100 factories. China went to Saklepie, 100 factories. China invested in 100 factories in Ganta. China put 300 factories in Bon County. Then guess what? China decided it's about time, because we need to connect the factories in Grand Jita to the supply centers in Tapeta, so that there will be internal consumption. And so China built road to connect. When you build road, you must be connecting something. Tell me, how much are we making from the road from here to Ganta? We spent about 265 million several years ago. How much money are we getting from that road? When somebody ready, they go to spend time in a hotel in Ganta, they come back, that the money we're making from there. How many industries are in Ganta, and how many trucks are moving up and down on our road, bringing goods from here or taking goods from here? Those are the things you make money from. Volume of sales. The depth of our market is basically right here in Monserrato. If I were president, you can take a simple economics. Even if you bought a brand new truck, even with a barrel from Sino to Monrovia, if you bought a brand new truck and you just did the mathematics, I will do something for you so you can see. You do the mathematics, right? Let's say you spend $75,000 to buy a brand new truck, one of those Chinese trucks. If you divide this by 5 years, you're talking $15,000 per year. If you divide this by 12 months, you're talking $1,200 per month. If you divide this by 30 days, you're talking $41 per day, $41.60 per day. Let's assume the truck coming to Monrovia is going to take, because of barrel, say 4 days or 5 days. Let's even call it 1 week. Times 1 week, that's going to be $291 because of the barrel. If you put in fuel, put cost of fuel another $200, put whatever you have to give your driver another $150, it means that you're going to be spending about $641 to move cargo from a factory in Grand Cru or in Sino to Monrovia, or vice versa, right? How much do you spend for freight for 24-footer container from China? Right now, you're spending about $4,000 to $5,000 for freight for that container. So you see, if you were to bring 30 containers from China, if you did a 4-5 times 30 containers, you're talking 135,000. You could take that same quantity of goods from Grand Jita or from wherever in the southeast, and it wouldn't cost you that much. So for me, if you made interventions in the road and took the money you wanted to spend in road to create the industries in those counties, you will stem the tide of urban migration. And then what would you have done? You would have increased taxation. All of those factories will start to pay taxes, both income tax, corporate income tax. So let's say you invested in, say, about 800 factories using, say, $75 million over a 2 years period. And then you take money generated from there to invest in the road. You increase productivity. That's what China does. China connects economic centers, and so her productivity increases. By 2008, China was export dependent. Today, China has increased her internal consumption. So China is not as so badly export dependent as she was in 2008. People are changing their life cycle.
Others will argue on the social benefits of building roads. People need to travel during the rainy season.
And Mr. J, that's why Liberia can borrow like it used to. That's why from Madam Selita, you could borrow up to 200, 300 million. Today, you can only borrow 50, 40, 80, here, there, you know why? Because you're still paying that debt. When you borrow that money, it takes you a couple of years to pay. So that limits your capacity. That's why what you borrow now must be able to give some short-term returns. What is the government of Nigeria and Cameroon and Kenya doing? You know what they're doing? They borrow money. You know what they're investing in? They're investing in avocado production. Avocado is now the new oil. Did you know that?
No.
Do some research. I will send you some work. Avocado It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
I eat that a lot. I love it.
Avocado is as a matter of fact, the Chinese, as a result of the new social status in China, people are trying to be more healthy. The Chinese are demanding avocado, and guess who they're taking it from? They're taking it from the Europeans and the Americans. So now, if you have an avocado farm, people are even going to give you money to grow in advance. There are all documentaries on that. So the government of Kenya, the government of Nigeria, the government of Cameroon, they are investing. As a matter of fact, Cameroon is doing well with that. Even banana. But we sit down and we are not following the trends, and we're not investing money in things that will bring us return. And so what are we doing? We're hurting ourselves, hurting our economy. We keep having budget shortfall. So where do you expect to get this money from to grow the budget? You take 90% of your resources, you spend it on the legislature. The legislature does not produce anything. I even hear, the other day I was hearing, they want to create 2 new counties. I'm sure you've heard that.
Yeah, I've been hearing different things. Creating new.
They want to create two new counties.
New universities.
How does 2 new counties that will give you more representatives, more senators, where you have to expand the legislature, spend more money on it? How is it a source of production? And people are saying, oh, but we don't have money. But the politicians keep exposing us to costs. And we say, take that money, repurpose it, refocus Liberia. For the next 4 years, Liberia will be a different place. Things will change quite a lot.
What steps, urgent ones, can the government take if it is to resuscitate the economy to make it do better? What can they do?
One of the first things I'm looking, our GDP is about 5 billion. It used to be 2 something before it rose up. Now it's about 5 billion. Why is the minimum capital requirement still $10 million? The biggest money any bank can give you is 1 million. Why? Because they can't give you more than 10% of the capital requirement. Why can't we step up our capital requirement to $40 million? We can give a window like other countries have done. Nigeria did that. Ghana has done that. Why can't we say step up your capital requirement to $40 million? And we give you 5 years to appreciate to $40 million. And for the local bank, the ones that are local, the central bank can assist them. Why can't we do that? But I think we have to start with the central bank even paying the local banks their money, because most of the banks have loaned the government of Liberia millions of dollars, and repayment is an issue. So the capital requirement will be one thing. Then when you step up the capital requirement, the window for repayment, you have to extend the window for repayment. The most you may probably get will be 24 months for repayment. If you're getting 24 months for repayment, it's strangulating. Imagine if you borrow $1 million and you say, okay, I want to grow cocoa. All right, it takes you like 5 years. I mean, three to 4 years for cocoa to develop. So now that you borrow $1 million, if you divided this $1 million by say 2 years, it means you have to pay $500,000 a year. If you divided this by 12 months, it means you have to pay $41,000 per month. That's just the principal, not the interest. So if you planted cocoa, it means that you have to find extra money to be able to pay the bank that money back within a 2 years period while you're waiting for 3 years. You can't borrow money for agriculture. These things are we need to sit down and have a serious conversation about these things. So if you expand it, if you increase the capital requirement, then you also work with the banks through the central bank to increase the window for repayment and borrowing. What that does, it creates growth. So you can decide.
Because cocoa too has become quite valuable. I was reading something, the Ghanaian government is doing something about cocoa that is improving.
They've added 128 cedis to a bag of cocoa. So it goes up to, so per ton of cocoa now is racing to about a little over $4,300 per ton, because they've added 128 cedis to a bag of cocoa.
Now, this is the OK conversation. If you are an expert in any of the areas we are talking about, you can message me. I will call you when we start to take us, because it can be difficult to get through the lines. So yeah, if you are an expert in any of the areas, you should be able to get to me. But we are still advancing on what the different things the government
So that was one.
can do to resuscitate
That was
the
one.
economy.
So the next thing the government can do, like we said, the government needs to be serious about cost revision. It's a political issue, I must admit, and so you have to tackle it professionally. If you went to an institution like a ministry and said, look, but you know, I don't know why these things are surprising. You remember we used to have the Ministry of National Security? Where is it now? Oh no, Madam Sally, it was shut down. Remember we used to have the National Bureau of Investigation? It was shut down. So there was a transition. So the first thing you do, before you even go to the legislature, from the executive side, you defund it. So the only funding that will be going to that institution will be the payroll. So the institution name will remain, because don't forget, to defund and cancel these institutions, you have to go back to the legislature, right? So before going back to the legislature, the government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Finance Development Planning, develops the budget. So when you're developing the budget, you defund these institutions. When you defund them, then you will be able to save a lot of money that you can now begin to redeploy in the private sector. I keep stressing, every nation must develop every nation will develop if it has a strong private sector. Let's take another low-hanging fruit. Just a couple of days ago, I followed the news in Accra, and the Ghanaian passports can now go to Morocco, visa-free. President Mahama has said that one of his goals is to strengthen the Ghanaian passport, to make it strong. And passports are strong based on the number of countries you can visit without visa. As a matter of reciprocity, he's opened up his country that any citizen from anywhere across Africa can now visit Ghana without visa. What are we doing? And I think they have a reciprocity with South Africa. The population of Liberia is just about 5-point-something million. So I think you probably have about 2 million or 3 million people that have Liberian passports. So even if you took the 3 million Liberian passport holder and put it in South Africa, it wouldn't even move the country. And that's not what people that have the passport want to do anyway. Why don't we have a visa waiver with South Africa? Why don't we have a visa waiver with Morocco, with Egypt, or even most of the countries on the African continent? Do you know what that does? If I'm a Rwandese and I want to prospect, I know that I don't need to go and do visa issues to go to Liberia. I can easily visit those countries. So today, Ghanaians easily get on the plane, they go to South Africa, they go to Morocco, they can easily prospect. And by prospecting, they're able to check, how can we synergize, how can we work with other actors in these markets to turn things around. I think one of the things I want to encourage the foreign minister, she can work on that, work with the president so that we have Liberian passport or Liberian passport holders having increased access to many of these countries. West Africa is free because of ECOWAS. But what about if you need to go to many other countries outside here? You need a visa. We can work on that because that in itself changes something around. The other thing, tourism. Again, why can't we find some money and invest in tourism to bring people to our country? We're not doing that. And because we're not doing those things, when you talk to government officials, they say, oh, but if you get money, go and build a hotel. But that's not how it works in other countries. That's not how it works in places like Mauritius. That's not how it works in Seychelles. These countries rake in so much money from tourism. We need to work on those structures so that it helps in many respects. I'm sure you've spoken to the guy because somebody told me you went out to Nimba, to that Echo Lodge.
Yeah, Nimba Echo Lodge.
People come from far away and go there, and they like the view. Imagine if you have more of those kinds of things here. The number of people that will be coming to Liberia just to go and visit. And it's my understanding that thing was funded through an international grant. There is so much low-hanging fruits, things that we can do to change our country around. But I think our people are not willing to listen, and we hope after this show they will go beyond just presenting a budget to the legislature and that budget has Ministry of Finance, it has Ministry of Commerce, it has Water and Sewer, it has LEC, and all of these institutions year in, year out are not producing anything. If they took that same money and invested it in the private sector, we see a lot of return. I'll tell you what, I will encourage you. You need to go to the Petty Traders Association. Many of these people are well-meaning. Many of these people mean well. Many of these people just need a small push in terms of support to turn the tide around. And in many respects, we're not having those kinds of support. And so they are on their own. They become victims of importers who give them the goods at prices that are outrageous, and we're not making progress.
His name is Simeon Freeman, and this is the OK Conversation. Let's tie governance into all of these things, because that's the soft side of governance. Is a part of it. People need to have confidence in your systems, the rule of law, and all these kinds of things. How do they tie into economic growth and development?
Which one?
Governance, the issues of governance, the rule of law, adhering to the rule of law, and all those kinds of things. How significant are they?
So again, how do we tie that into governance? I think our legal system is good. There we need some tweaking here, there, and yonder. But above all, we need to support the judicial infrastructure. I've been a proponent of a judge should be capacitated so much so that he has probably about 4 lawyers working in his office to assist him with cases and matters arising. That would, in many respects, accelerate the time it takes for a judge to deal with an issue. But because the courts are so poorly funded, one judge is expected to go through multiple cases at a time, and is really, really, really affecting outcome. But one issue I clearly want to look at. 1 minute, please. Mm-hmm. This urban migration to Monrovia. Technology today is a serious thing. When we were giving permissions to these companies, whether it was Orange or it was MTM or the other associated data companies, today if you're in FOIA, all you need is internet connection, a smartphone. You don't need to have a Samsung. You can get what they call it, Techno, Artel. They have all these other cheap phones that are much cheaper, and you have access to the Facebook. You have access. Those days, I had to leave from Monrovia, go to Zozo, and tell my brother or relative that, look, Monrovia, this is how it's looking, this is how it's looking. Today, the guy sits there and sees it. So all of these things are now driving urban migration. The sooner we tackle these issues, the better it will be for us as a country. If we don't go to the rural and set up the factories that we need to set up, if we don't go to the rural and set up the industries that we need to set up, we're going to have more people coming to the city, and that urban migration is going to lead to some of the increased problems that we're having today. Congestion in communities. So you come from rural, your brother is sleeping in one room, maybe there are about 2 there, you join there, there's 3, the other brother come, 4 men sleeping on one bed in one room, and where the house is situated is not even proper, so people are building in waterways and all these things. Most of these things come from the fact that we have abandoned rural and everything is in urban, and whenever we collect the money, 90% our key focus for government is how do we pay salaries at the end of the month. When salary is paid, then government is doing well. Then when you look, government put up one red light, then everybody go and dedicate it. Government build one little piece of road somewhere, everybody go and dedicate it, because we actually are neglecting the core issues.
Now, one of the issues is also the machines, the different equipment government is buying.
I was just going to that.
What do you make of all of this?
Again, let's face it. Many times when the policy makers are taking
the 285 yellow machines for the roads and 280 something plus agricultural equipment as well. That's what we're hearing.
We forget the reason why we've had serious challenge, whether with LEC or water and sewer, is because government-run infrastructures and institutions never have succeeded. The same thing we have with telecom. I remember those days we had a telephone, and as soon as it was Friday, there was a guy, I don't want to call his name because maybe he's still alive. He would call us, how the phone line? We say the phone line, all right. Before you realize it, he would tell us, I'm to so and so sharp. So anything wrong with you line, don't you try to reach me, because those days no mobile phone, only the landline. When you look, you pick out the phone, crack, you don't hear anything, it's gone. The man want his weekend, so he's affected your line. But he's showing you where he is. Then you now go to that place or wherever, you collect him to come and fix the line. He will now call his other man, and when you load the line is restored, you got to give him something. Today, nobody touching your mobile phone. You want to sleep with your data on, it's up to you. You want to call from morning to night if you have money, it's up to you. Why am I bringing up that example? You see, these equipments that are brought into the country, that will be brought into the country, that have been a big issue. First thing is the issue of exhaustive capacity.
What does that mean?
Do we have 280-something machine operators that we know that are here, or we're going to be trying one or two people and they will damage the machine? First thing. Second thing is the issue of management. If I were in government, I would do it differently. You know what I would do?
Tell me.
That 30 or 40 million or 50 million that they say they have that they want to spend on equipment, I would take that money and give it to the Central Bank of Liberia. The Central Bank will loan that money to the commercial banks with specific instruction for onward lending to contractors in the area of road construction. Then the government behind the scenes, through maybe the NRC or something, can take a few, whether it's Unity Party, partisan, whoever partisan, they'll form a company. They will now go and benefit from that funding, and they will start up a construction company. What have we done? We created lines of responsibility to that funding. Before you get that loan, you have to provide certain guarantees. When you collect a loan, what happens? Now you have the capacity, you've established that, to try to take up one or two road contracts. So the government now says we want to build a road from Barclayville to Grand Jiden, or we want to build a road from Barclayville to Cestos in Riverside. Mr. Jeb and your company will give you that aspect of the road. And this one is intervention. So what happens? You have better use of the money, you got better outcome, and you're not going to take the equipment, give it to a few people of one or two counties. Let's say you divide it among the 15 counties. Over time, it will start to break down. And that's why government equipment perennially never lasts long. It always breaks down. You know, all of our issue is the issue of approach. Can we do it in a better way? Yes. Are we consulting enough to do it in a better way? No, we are not. And because we're not doing that, we trying to adapt an approach.
What the argument is that in the past they had these public work yards in the county,
right,
where they had machines that were doing regular
what broke down the machines?
Road maintenance and all of that.
And why did those machines break down? Did anybody ask? That's the history we're giving you. So let me go back. You have something called the Public Utilities Authority, PUA. Mm-hmm. Those are older hearing PUA now will be smiling. That was what they were about. Do you know what broke them down? Government run. Because in government, if you spoke to Boyka, 80% of the people in government, he doesn't know them. John Brown will come and say, I know her. She's my contact. They put her there. John Brown will come. I know this man. Put him there. That man goes there, he has loyalty to that circle around the president. He goes and screws up. It's difficult to correct the situation. The first person,
because
there'll
be people defending.
The president doesn't want to offend this other camp around him. That's why the president always have camps. Every government, every country. The president doesn't want to offend this camp. And so, even though he's heard this, he leans on that camp, he leaves it yet. So you're going to have those breakdowns. But where the government gives it to a private arrangement, where that money came from a bank to that private arrangement, there is increased responsibility. The risks of success the probability of success much, much higher. And those are some of the mistakes we're making.
Let's talk about agriculture a bit. You were talking about the issue of rice production in Nigeria. I had the agriculture minister yesterday. He was talking about different interventions they are trying to make. What can you advise in the area of agriculture?
I'll tell you this much. Rice production in our country is very possible. Many countries have turned that corner. Several years ago, India. It's interesting. In the 1940s, India was this poor country, very huge population. India was importing rice. Today, India is the largest exporter of rice. Nigeria, 10 years ago, $20 billion on rice import. Today, they spend far less than that. What am I driving? You see, sometimes our approach. If I had a conversation with the Ministry of Agriculture or the President, or if our President, what I would want to do is, I want to set up similar private sector arrangement. You know what I'll do? I will set up one company, two companies per county. So we'll fund about 30 companies. What will those companies be? They will be equipment companies. We will give them the funding. They will have the bulldozer, the caterpillars, the trucks, and the warehouses. Their job will be to go to the farmers and clear the farm for them for free. So we don't want to be drawn into county politics. That's why we say 2 per county. You know, you got upper bound, lower bound issue. You got upper Nima, lower Nima issue. You got upper Bassa, lower Bassa issue. So you divide the county into 2, upper Bassa, lower Bassa. They will go to the farmers in Lower Bassa, clear the farm for free, because that's one of our biggest challenges for rice production and for other crops, and give them the crops for free. So now, if I'm in rural Liberia, I don't know worry about anything. Now I have a company coming and clearing my farm. I grew up in the interior. In Bassa, we call it boo. I don't know I don't know how you call it in your county, but what it means is communal farming, where people come together. You notice a lot of people don't farm within a year, because sometimes we're so busy clearing other people's farms, and then by the time you come to me, the season is up, so people have to plant. So during that year, everybody will give me a little. They will give me pepper, they will give me okra, they will give me rice, so that my family and I survive. The following season, I will be, we that were not beneficiaries of the communal farming this year, we will be the first. So when you clear people farm for free, and this will be private companies doing that, those farmers, the same thing you see Firestone do, those farmers will now sell their produce to those companies. Those companies will be the medians that will sell to the market women, that will export the crop, that will supply the factories. So you have to set up the chain. Those companies will become the fulcrum of the economy. They clear the farm for free, give the guys free crop, and then they become beneficiaries where they can buy. So if I'm a farmer in rural Liberia, I do nothing but farm, because now it's clear and I can grow. That company, if somebody wants to add value to cassava, one of the things we realized when the African Development Bank put up the money for rice refining in Liberia, we couldn't take up the facility, and the reason was simple. I realized from that study, the rice in Liberia is grown all over. There's rice grown in Lofa. There's rice, especially the southeastern region, is one of the biggest sources of rice production in this country. So that means you have to set up a transportation company. Go to Southeast Bar Rice, go to Nimba Bar Rice, go to Lofa Bar Rice, go to Bomb Bar Rice. It's crazy. When you factor that into your costs, you can never be competitive. The second challenge we found out, a bucket of rice is almost equivalent, a bucket of sea rice is almost equivalent to what you pay for a bag of rice. Other India, you buy the rice, they process rice for about $9-10. Land it here, then you sell it for $13 or whatever, but you put in all of your associated costs. If you buy in a bucket of sea rice for almost the same price, no way you can compete. That's why you see all of the people producing rice here, they package it in small bags, because then they will compete. But if they put in the 10 kilos bear, they will never be able to compete because the price will be much higher. Now, when you clear, those companies now become the fulcrum. If you want to produce rice, all you have to do, go to any one of the companies, or go to any two of those companies and say, supply me 50 tons of rice every month. They can now supply you. That's how you spur the economic growth in terms of agriculture, because those companies now become the fulcrum. They will be publicly funded through the central bank arrangement, but then privately they will privately operate, but then they will pay the government back her money through the commercial bank. When you create these companies through the commercial bank, you're creating a line of responsibility, and that makes it very easy. It makes it workable. Other countries have used this model and it's worked. I'll give you one last example. Take Mexico. The tobacco companies went to Mexico. They used that method. They cleared the land for free. They gave the guy free ceilings. The guys transitioned from planting opium crop. They move on to and cocaine crop. They move on to planting tobacco leaves. And the tobacco companies, cigarette companies, were able to work with them, and that's how they transition a lot of those guys. Some of those same guys now, one of the biggest exports from Mexico to America, avocado. The same guys have transitioned.
Bill Murphy says Simeon Freeman can make a good finance minister, honestly. Okay. Simeon Freeman Attila is a genius when it comes to politics and international politics as well. But it puzzles me to see him trying to downplay salary payment. This is the same reason that caused President Weah the presidency. President Weah overlooked the bread and butter issues over all his presentation. Where is it? Presentation was fruitful to the public. Christopher Bala sends in that one. How come with all of those brilliant ideas, VSAT Mineral Water Company broke down and DSTV is struggling to survive? DSTV has increased their fees more than 300%. KD, I thought they brought it down. I don't know. You want to respond to that one quickly? Yeah.
So when he says the water company broke down, let me just deal with that. You know, sometimes people don't understand. When we started the water company, we had a capacity of 5,000 bottles per hour. So the 5,000 bottles per hour, we found out that 5,000 bottles per hour was not competitive and economically viable. So today we've increased it to 25,000 bottles an hour. And by the time we open by November, we will be a lot more competitive.
So you close it down to improve it?
Yeah, the same thing with the hotel. The hotel, we shut it down because when we assumed it, there were some structural issues. So right now it's on a massive renovation. In fact, a friend called me the other day when he went there, he was shocked. Hopefully by end of August, September, we should be reopening. When he said DSTV increased prices, I don't understand. We didn't increase subscription price, we increased hardware price. So firstly, we're selling it for $15. Nowhere across Africa DSTV is bought for $15. We were subsidizing. Now we withdrew the subsidy and the price went to $62 for hardware. So sometimes when you're talking positive things, that's the problem of our country. Instead of listening and taking in the cues, they want to jump. Okay, how many politicians have businesses in this town? Let's start from there. How many politicians have done successful business? Simeon Freeman has been successful without one day not working in government. What does he have to say to that? Why don't I have similar challenges in other countries?
Oh, you have business in other countries too?
Oh yeah. We do sugar in Nigeria. We have industrial park in Ghana. We do real estate. We do a lot in other markets. But you see, again, even if you went to Nigeria, just the decoder alone is about $22. Just the decoder alone. Then you have to buy the dish, which is another $20. That's about $45. And they are a bigger market, 211 million people. We have about 5.7 million people. So the quantity they order and the quantity we order, it's much smaller. But even at that, $62, comparable, the similar price in Accra. Subscription, the markets don't control that. That's controlled by the parent company that's based in Dubai.
Okay. This person says, just my take, and I don't want to be called.
And then the issue of salaries he talked about. Nobody's downplaying salaries. We recognize that. What we're saying is that salary payment is not an achievement, and that there is a strong need for government to invest in the private sector, because in the end, government will make more. Mr. Jeb makes $1,000 a month. He invests $500 every month. As a result, his return on investment every month is $50 from his $500. At the end of the year, he would have made more money. He would be much richer. It's simple as that.
I just joined your show and have been listening to the studio guest analysis. What do you expect? His perspectives appears to be more textbook based and detached from the realities of governance in the real world. His argument that the national government should focus solely on profit making through investments while ignoring social protection and essential public services is not only unrealistic but deeply problematic. Governance is not a business enterprise driven purely by profit motives. It is a social contract grounded in the obligation to serve all citizens, especially the most vulnerable. How can a government claim legitimacy if it abandons its duty to provide healthcare, education, and social safety nets for its people? What happens to the unemployed, the elderly, or the disabled in a system where profit takes precedence over people? Can economic growth truly be sustainable if it executes if it excludes the majority from its benefits? To prioritize profit over people is to promote a rich life, poor die. Philosophy, one that undermines equity, justice, and inclusive development. Any serious approach to governance must strike a balance between economic productivity and social responsibility. Ignoring that balance leads to a fragile and unjust society. Isn't the true measure of good governance the ability to grow the economy while also uplifting lives of ordinary citizens? Danu Mian says that, I think it's from the CSA. So, what do you say to that?
You see, again, that's the problem in our country. If you check that man, he hasn't probably worked in the private sector. He doesn't understand the real dynamics of government. Probably a political appointee.
Yeah, he's a government official.
Thank you.
So one of the deputies at CSA.
So let's face it. But that same man will go to China or go to Ivory Coast and he will say, "Damn, the country is developed." Or he will go to Ghana and say that the entire deposition here. Did I say government should abandon social infrastructure? No, I said what he's saying government cannot abandon. What he's saying, it is justified for government to pump money into LBS, to pump money into Ministry of Information, to pump money into all of the deadweight institutions that bring nothing in return to government. That's justified for him. I'm also saying, instead of spending money on those kinds of places, take that money and invest it into a private sector that guarantees the return on investment. When they say budget shortfall, does he understand what that means? Budget shortfall means that the government was not able to collect sufficient money as per her projection. Because it was unable to collect sufficient money as per her projection, it means that government does not have additional sources from which it can collect money. And if it doesn't have those sources, it has to create it like other countries do. Now, we're not saying abandon health. We're saying if you have to deal with education, don't focus on funding these universities, because we have University of Liberia here and people are graduating, they're being unemployed. Focus on technical education. If government has to fund school or create any other thing in rural elsewhere, let it be a trade school or a vocational school or technical university that will churn out people, and those people can be consumed by the private sector. Many times, these people want to prove to their political godfathers that they can reach out. And that's Liberia's problem. Some of these people, because you can talk or you have mouth to talk, doesn't mean when things are being said that you don't understand, you have an opinion.
Let's take a few calls and please jot down the concerns. Your guest is very practical, eloquent to this discussion. I think his ideas are similar or motivating that probably other countries are using to improving lives. He is always giving examples from other countries. Kokoli sends in that one. This person says, given all of what Mr. Freeman has explained and knowing that he is an employer, what does he think of the minimum wage of $143? He will respond to those questions. Let's take some calls now. We'll now activate the phone lines. 777-700-995, 555-995-995. The numbers to call. This was many of our leaders only here, but they do not listen. Charles T. Cooper says that. I want to go to the the line, the Facebook line as well to read some of your messages, but we will come back to you. Let's come here. Welcome. Let's hear you.
Hello?
Yes. Yes. Go ahead. Let's hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
How are you? Thank you. Yeah, Julia.
Go ahead, oh, we're hearing you.
Mr. Freeman, thank you for all of your analysis. But as you were just saying, this is a problem we have our country. When people got knowledge, they try to share with us, we will politicize everything. So what we need to do as a people, we need to come together. Don't forget about the politics. You from CDC, you from this side. When somebody get idea, you don't have to be part of the party, but the people have to call you and share your idea with them. Then when it's better for everyone. But everything somebody bring, people have to criticize because why you not support them. So it's a problem we have in our country.
Thanks so kindly. Welcome. Let's hear you.
Julia.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Julia.
Yes, go ahead. Let's hear you.
Thank you. My name is Speaker S. Mato, and I call you from Johnsonville this evening. Julia, I listened to the political leader of the MPC. Julia, my question to him, he have all these ideas and policy. I want to know if he has ever reached to any of the government official or the president himself to share the idea and see how best they can.
You asking if he reach out, is he the one to reach out or they supposed to reach out to him? Which one works?
No, for the nation now, for the law of country now. So if these guys have reached to you, you can find me, you can maneuver the way for you to reach to the president. Maybe the president may say, oh, the president has reached to you, but for the sake of country and for the sake of the innovation mind that you have, you can go and share with the president this politics, what the president is going on.
So I'm asking that you can walk to president, or the president can say, I won't see them, man. Which one?
What I mean is, always the president can call him.
Okay. Thanks so kindly. Let's take other people. Welcome. Let's hear you from this end quickly.
Yes, I'm focused, and I'm from the southeast. Good evening, Mr. Freeman. Let me say it clearly. I think we need to take Freeman's idea. I'm from the financial background, and I've been doing some economic. By the time you say you want to invite Simeon Freeman to do some extensive research to some extent, I think Freeman makes sufficient sense. We need to just practically with the politics team. It's good at times, but for us to look at the liberal, the practical aspect that help our country, and try to incorporate Freeman in order to see how bad they can bring their expertise. President need to do the needful, call some aspects. I think that was
because focus. It kind of appears that the country is just spinning in one cycle from one government to the other. No serious real change. No real employment job. No real economic growth and development.
Quite frankly, Julia, too many young people are graduating with portfolio degree, are doing my second master, are doing 10 master. But Julia, it's a growth without development. I think Freeman is kind of doing the different thing that many of us need to get credence to and pull the portfolio aside and see the practical livelihood that can make our counties, our sisters, our brothers to better off than what we're doing regularly. Yes, I want to believe that we need to do more than this. And even though there are some things you say that we can talk to politically, I mean, from all our perspective, but the real substance of the issue is we need to improve the country all collectively. One way or the other, we can better our life than we want to be more political all of the time. Thank you.
Thanks so kindly. Focus Wilson, let's come to this end. Welcome. Let's hear you, sir.
Yes, Julius. Yes. Good afternoon to Mr. Freeman. I always follow him. It's good that sometimes, once a while.
What is your name?
Brown Tate from Johnsonville.
Go ahead, former soup. You can get one for the people. No, you former superintendent, but go ahead.
No problem, Julius.
I guess you can be surprised how I know that you former soup, eh?
No, but my man, you from the region, you know.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
the man speaking to you. The man speaking to you.
Oh yeah, Honorable Freeman, thank you so much.
Soup, how are you?
I don't know again.
Okay.
Because when you people are naming those Liberians that were in the timber industry, there was a name you call Gabriel Gabriel Doe.
Yeah, Gabriel Doe.
Yes. That Gabriel Doe, man, when I was working in Robertsfield,
Right.
in May 80s,
Right.
you know, at that time, American used to come from
Right.
to Liberia,
Right.
Monday to Saturday.
Right.
Gabriel go to America 2 times a week. So I used to wonder how this man travel to America 2 times a week.
Wow, that time, oh.
Yeah, that Pan American used to fly direct America straight there.
They will say, Gabriel, because we'll go to the airport.
Liberia, we gotta go to Ghana. All the people just waste our time here.
Very young man. You know, the time I'm talking about. And that time he was in the industry.
Yeah.
And that time the industry was booming. Even if you go to my own country, they call TTCO. They got the Bible family, they got their own lodging company. A lot of people, maybe they're still that you don't even name in the sector. They were competing
I just send you a short list. Liberians were major in the sector.
But I think he said it right. Right now, I think there's a response you get to the guy who tested from GSA. The thing is, how Freeman will just wake up 1 minute and say, President Bwaka, I want to see you. But people listening to him, they can tell the president to find a think tank group where they can meet with some of those people who get no ideas. What can we do? Can we propose a committee that you can work alone as a consultant? That's what people do. But sometimes people just can start people with a brilliant idea, then the man will go in common. Thank you so much. I've been following you guys.
Thanks so kindly for your call as well, sir. Let's see who's on this end. Welcome. Let's hear you.
Yes, thank you for having me. My name is Sosa.
Go ahead.
I'm from Joe community. I appreciate Simeon Freeman for his deliberation. I think it is needed for Liberia to embrace the great idea that Simeon Freeman has. Look, Jesus, we have to do away with practice politics and embrace each other. We have actions that will develop the minds of our people and that will develop the country in general. Look, we do not even have a strategic and long-term development plan in this country. These are things we're supposed to be focusing on. Julius, these are things we're supposed to be focusing on.
But there is the arrest agenda for inclusive development, the AARD.
Julius, I think that fast plan. I'm talking about strategic, 50-year strategic plan.
Okay.
That any government can't do work with.
Thanks so kindly. Thanks so kindly. Let's come to this end. Welcome. Let's hear you.
Thank you, my good friend and brother Julius. Always for the opportunity. Let me take this time to tell Mr. Freeman, thank you so much. You know, Julius, always if you invite Mr. Freeman, I'm always happy sitting to listen to him. Look, now all put the politics business aside. Since I've been getting to know Mr. Freeman, since he been giving ideas, if we going by in the country has gone far. Now all forget about say, Mr. Freeman want to be president or this and that. He's not talking about for him to be president. He's thinking about a nation called Liberia to prosper. He's just talking about if I have the opportunity to get there, I will do it. And the idea in sharing, he's not keeping it to himself. There are people
free to we're not paying him to share his idea. In fact, he didn't want to pay for one of the hours to come and share his own idea.
Thank you. We're not paying the young man. When he come and share the idea for us to buy the idea to go around here to say, come work with us, come let us do this for the Liberian people to benefit, to enjoy. Then they will come, let the man get water factory, let the man get DATV. That Mr. Freeman stopping people to not bring water factory, to not bring DATV in the place. When they get their money, they carry in other country to go invest it there. Then they do all year, and when the man bring the idea, at least he get a factory. 2-3 Liberians working there, they're getting something to carry to their family. We must employ him for that. All the other government officials, then when they collect it, they carry to ESA. They carry paying mortgages, 3 days. Who benefiting from it? Then they want to try to be criticizing the men are bringing ideas.
Okay.
I'm from the CDC background, but I'm here to say, because I'm from CDC background, when somebody get idea for how to benefit, they will be criticizing the young men for that.
Thanks so kindly.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so kindly. Let's take... Hello.
Yeah, hello there, Julia. Wonderful. How are you, Mr. Freeman?
Fine. What's your name?
Wonderful. I'm Joseph Boy Cooper. I really appreciate
Are you the one from the is it El
District
Chapo?
8.
No, you got district. You are official government. You want her? I beg you. We gotta identify you before you talk. Now you can talk.
Okay, so Mr. Freeman, I really appreciate your support, more especially with the kind of brain idea. But I just want us to just backtrack a little bit. How many staff do you have at DSTV?
Why is that important?
Yes, because from his speaking, it tells you he's concerned about the growth and development of the country, and I guess it should be transcended towards his staff at DSTV as well. And if you look at that, the number of staff he may have, I would also want to know how well is he applying the Decent Work Act? Because some people are a place that may have first degree or second degree, they stay earning $250. Some of them earning $150. So I just want him to look at that and to see as to whether that could be better for him too, to help. People will see his example and see how to emulate it within their companies as
Thanks so kindly. We'll hold you that. Let's hear you. I think you may be the last one because he has a whole lot to respond to. Welcome.
Julius, how are you?
I'm fine. Adolphus Kawa, go ahead.
Thank you. And I thought to weigh in, particularly the fact that the last caller chose to waste sufficient time from all of the different presentation and all of the issues raised. It's disappointing that Boy will call as a government official to talk about trivial issue. Look, this is about time that we sanitize the public discourse. Mr. Freeman is in studio and talking varying issues. I mean, you don't have to like him. You have the opportunity to critique him. But let's elevate the conversation. They must spoke on different issues that brought us on, the drive towards economic growth, towards sustainable development, all of those things. And then a government official will call and start talking about how many staff you got to your private investment and stuff like that. Look, I think as officials of government or people who support the rescue agenda, let's look at some of these issues that people who maybe opposition or whatever, but whatever they say, let's look at let's pick the meats, the crux of those issues, and see how they tie into our agenda and run with it and see how we develop the country rather than being trivial. And I think that is so disappointing. And I just thought to weigh on that.
Thanks so kindly, Adolphus. This person wants to know your view, it just slipped me too, on the president's recent announcement to investigate the country's informal economic challenges, where he named the vice president to head a team and all of that. So the next 5 minutes we'll give it to you. And I need to say this. I had invited Mr. Freeman. He was away for 1 hour. And then he said, I think there's a whole lot to talk about, so I will need 2. I said, well, I can get you 2 hours. I only give you 1 hour. So if you want 2, then you have to pay for 1, because I invited you for 1. And he had to pay for 1 hour plus the one I invited him on, just to have this high-level discussion, just so you know. Yeah.
Yeah, so, again, look, let's go back in time. Several years ago, and I'll just give you the example, right? Anything I say here, I want you to check it out. This Parker Pin, Parker Pin. Parker Pin was a private businessman, and he sat with President Tauber, and the president said, "Look, my friend and brother, how can I do this? How can I do that? And we're not making progress on this front, on that front." You know what the man told the president? He said, "Mr. President, show me your entire lineup of your cabinet. How many of those people have paid payroll at the end of the month? How many of those people know what it is to pay payroll at the end of the month?" And I'll put the same question back to this president. How many people in his government know what it is to pay payroll at the end of the month? Most of these people, after government, they are dead. The next government come, they resurface. The truth is, you take this critical issue, if the president wants an undiluted opinion, he would gather the private sector, people from the banking service, people from the private service, and say, tell me, what can I do to transform the economy? But you go within your same corridor, the same people around you, you put them there. Are we being serious? Let's face it. That was what led to the creation of the National Investment Commission. The mayor said to the president, these people don't know how to pay payroll. You need a private sector for us to tell you. The president said, tell me what we should do. And so they established you see that National Investment Commission. It was not just to attract investors. It was to create a conducive environment, because nobody can attract an investor better than me. The man will come. For example, I want one woman. I say, Mr. Jed, they say you are lowering to the woman here. How is she? And you want stress, go there. You think I'll go there?
No.
So business people talking to business people, they say, my man, how Liberia, how the market? Say it's slow. You think the man coming to invest here? It is business people that talk to business people, and they will bring them. So if you want any form of improvement, you need to involve the business community. And President Boyka needs to change those approaches, and it will help. You know, and I thank Mr. Kawa for even dealing with that issue. I would have said just how many employees I have at DSTV. What does that have to do with anything? You haven't given me any money. I do private business. Whether it's the factory, the hotel, whatever else we do private business. How many employees we have? How does that factor into anything? But anyway, it was good to have heard the voice of Mr. Cooper.
Let me just squeeze in Eric Briswell, who is, I think, a businessman as well. For 45 seconds.
Go ahead.
Mr. Briswell, welcome.
You on the air?
Yeah. Oh, you want to talk off air?
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, good. I thought you were following, since you are a businessman too.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can just end up.
So you know, the reality of our country, the president and the government need to open their hand. And since this government came to power, I've not seen the president sit down and say, look, I want to have a meeting, for example, with the petty traders to understand their challenges. Or if he can't do that, maybe the finance minister and the commerce minister sit down with them. Or because the only meeting I've seen, I stand to be corrected, rice importers.
When there was that issue.
Yeah, there was that issue. Of all the meetings the president must have, that's the meat of the economy. Business people, people in the tourism areas of hotel. What is the challenge? People in this other sector, what are the challenges? How can we help you to win so that we win? Those are the conversations we need to be having. If we're not having those conversations, we're wasting our time. Somebody talk about the minimum wage. The minimum wage is a good idea. We don't have anybody over there that's a college degree holder. Even the newest people that we hire don't make that kind of money. But again, we pay better than what they even pay the police people. I don't know how much they even pay police or army people. We pay far better than that. So if Mr. whatever else that wants to talk, fair enough. But having said that, here's the thing that people don't get. You know, many times policy makers, again, always talk to people in the private sector that have the expertise. Some of us are not just business people. We have relevant experience and we bring it to the table. When you increase the wage anywhere in any country, you also increase the operating costs. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you say the minimum wage, every media institution should pay a journalist should be $500, it means the airtime goes up. Right? Mm-hmm. It means the everything else goes up, right? Then the same people come back and say, oh, but why you increase the price of this? But then you say you want to increase minimum wage.
I get it.
So sometimes, that's why I'm saying, when these policies are crafted, you need the right partnerships. So let's say, if I'm in government and president, I'm going to instruct my press secretary to the president, invite the media community, and let's clearly articulate this. Because you see, it's about articulation. So that these things are clearly articulated so the public understand what they have to give
Mr.
and what
Freeman,
has to be given.
We'll leave it here for today. We have gone 1 hour, 50 minutes. Thanks so kindly for accepting our invite and for also paying for 1 hour. Right. My name is Julius J. We'll try again in the near future when a whole lot of issues come up to bring him again. But that's how we do it. We hope those who are supposed to listen have listened, and the right cause can be placed in. All of us can do it together. It is not one person's business. Thanks so kindly. That's how we go. My name is Julius J. We're out.